Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon, as you can see. Yep, still doing this folks, still talking about Disney in one way or another, whether it's the theme parks, movies, something I guess. So, if anything, this gonna be, again, responding to this podcast thing. It's from this religious individual. Yes, they're gonna discuss. He's gonna definitely discuss what it seems to do the next right thing. Just get it, Frozen 2, Anna. She made that. She did that one song, Next Right Thing. And yes, as you can already guess yourself, trying to put some links, some connections, as if there's some religious context within the film, implying that Jesus and all that, Hail Mary and everything else. But again, I have to say, keep repeating this. Frozen 2 is not a religious film. Neither was the first one. And it shouldn't be. I'm not saying you can't make religious films or religious stories. Stories inspired by religion or whatever. Sure, you can do that if you want. But that doesn't mean everything in cinema or in publication should be about religion. No. It's not religion. It's not pro Christian. And it's not anti Christian. It's neither. So, yeah, I'm just saying. There's already plenty religious themed films out there. It's if anything, it's saturated with religious stuff. I mean, I could have easily made this entire thing, um, you know, biblical films. Because there is an absurd amount of them. I do mean a lot. So why does Frozen 2 have to be about, anything religious is beyond me. I don't know. Yes, if anything, Frozen 2 is more of a neutral stance. It has a neutral stance because it's not for religion and neither is against it. And I'm fairly certain the people behind this film are the same way. They're not going to be for it nor against it. Yeah, neutral, I guess you can say. A neutral response to this whole entire thing. If you're in a pact, if you want to practice religion, it's up to you. And if you don't, hey, that's fine too. So, but that doesn't exactly stop individuals for attempting to claim that there's religious stuff in it, but others say it's anti-religious. Well, some it's for religion, others is not. But then some say it is, some say it's not. I don't know. This is a confusing mess. This is just gonna be me to point out some of the things how this individual is wrong or whatever because there's nothing. At least he's not in the context of what he's talking about anyway. Okay, you know, just so you know, in regards to the video game footage and using radio, folks, it's from Air Force, but it's not. Yeah, he did upload some life is strange stuff, but this is like different alternate choices. So don't be thinking I'm spoiling anything that he had done. Just gotta point that out. But anyway, yada yada yada. I think I said enough. So let's just. Uh, it's gonna be cringe. All right, let's just dive right into it, folks. Whatever.
All right. So, for the third movie in our theater and theology series, I decided we were going to look at Frozen 2 this week. Now, Frozen 2 is obviously the follow up movie to the 2013 unbelievably popular movie Frozen.
And just so you know, folks, I actually repurchased the first Frozen film for like the 200th time. Oh boy, I'm gonna file for bankruptcy after this. I mean, I was doing that, earlier, or much earlier, and bought it brand new, spanking new, along with the new Godzilla Kong movie. So again, brand spanking new. I was at Target. Yeah, Air Force and I were shopping for a little bit. And I just thought I'll get to these two movies. I was at it. That really has nothing to do with the video, but here you go, I guess.
Now, Christine and I, we actually lived in Southern California during the height of Frozen Mania. And honestly, one of our favorite.
Yeah, Frozen Mania. I don't know why. That cracked me up. The way they worded it just made me laugh. All right. I'll stop interrupting you. Go ahead, man. Well, whatever. You and the other. Excuse me. Sorry about that, man. Ugh. Yeah, I think I had a few too many to drink here. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Frozen 2.
Do was to go to Disneyland and just count Elsas. On a busy Saturday, it would not be unheard of to get into the 50s of little kids dressed as Elsa. It was insane. But so this movie is a follow up to that one. This movie tells the story of sisters Elsa and Anna and their journey out of their kingdom into the unknown lands, answering the call of a mysterious voice. Their adventure leads them through enchanted forests, across dark seas, but eventually they learn that this is a journey really about family history in a time of self-discovery. Now, Frozen 2 only came out November of last year, so not that long ago. As such, I'm not going to be discussing a lot about the plot of it. I don't want to spoil that for people who might not have seen it yet. I'm going to touch on a few things, but for the most part, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, it just sounds like you really skimmed the plot. That was incredibly vague. What about the fact that the two sisters had to stick to each other, and there was the whole bit about the dam, which they first believed was said to be a gift, and there was some line in that, and it had something to do with their family and the truth about Arendale's past, and of course, and in the very beginning, where this mysterious voice was calling out to Queen Anna, as it turned out, the trolls from the original film returned for the sequel. At first, they thought Elsa's powers were too dangerous, but now realize that her powers may not be enough. Yeah, what about that? This is definitely hinting at something that's more crazier than believe. Of course, really foreshadowing something, I guess you could say. And then the whole bit with the giant rocks, of course.
But leading up to the movie, one of the reoccurring themes in the promotional material was the idea of doing the next right thing. In the movie itself, we first see this notion very early on when Elsa hears this mysterious music calling to her.
Not exactly, because it was a mysterious voice calling out to Elsa, to be more exact.
She's unsure who it is and is totally confused about why it's calling to her. But somehow she's drawn to follow it.
You're living out the fact that deep down she wants to go, but at the same time she doesn't want to repeat the events of the first film. So basically, she's in conflict with herself.
She's drawn to do the next right thing.
Again, no, you're living stuff out again as if you're doing it on purpose. Again, like I said, she's in conflict with herself because she doesn't want to leave her comfort zone. But at the same time, maybe she does want to go, but then she doesn't. But then she does. But you're living stuff out again. What the hell, man?
Now, this idea of the next right thing isn't really new, revolutionary, or groundbreaking. I mean, this is an idea that has been around for a long time. The notion of trying not to get overwhelmed by the whole is pretty common, right? That's the thing we've heard before. In fact, in Christian circles, it's become popular to refer to this style of thinking as the mantra, the next faithful step. Yeah. There are countless sayings that talk about this idea. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. My little iPod Shuffle that I'm still rocking when I run, because apparently it's 2008, on the back of it is engraved with this phrase, one step at a time. It's just getting to this idea that every step I take, I get a little bit less fat. It's thinking about it in those small terms. And this all sounds perfectly logical, right? This is an idea that really no one's going to argue against. Right?
Taking baby steps for a bigger adventure for your life or whatnot, that's not exactly what the sequence was about. So, okay, you're taking baby steps to improve your life. That's good, I guess.
You can't put a puzzle together all at once.
Again, no kidding. You can't just do everything all at once. Yes, there's going to be problems. Yes, you have to pick your battles, sure. But that's not what the song was about whatsoever.
You have to put one piece in at a time. If you're normal, you start with the border and go in. If you're a complete madman, you just go willy-nilly at it. It doesn't matter, but you're doing it one piece at a time. But what happens when we don't even know where the pieces are? Or don't have the first idea what piece to grab?
I mean, okay, there's some problems that you don't know about. You don't know how to fix it. That's normal. But into the unknown, that's not what it's about.
Or can't even bring ourselves to grab a piece. We don't have the strength.
Okay, like I just said, choose your battles. Realistically speaking, that makes sense. But what does that have to do with the song, though?
The emotional fortitude, whatever it is. We just can't bring ourselves to grab a single piece. This notion of taking things one step at a time becomes exponentially more difficult when depression comes into the picture. When circumstances around us swirl so much out of our control that we feel like we're lost in the middle.
Yeah, that's what happens in life. The problems pile up with each other. It happens. But again, what does that have to do with that certain sequence of the film?
That we'll never be able to get out. And this idea is highlighted in Frozen 2 amazingly well. So not only is the next right thing a repeated line and theme throughout the movie, but is also, in my view, the title of the best song in the movie. I know that might be controversial because most people love Elsa's song, and it's hard to go against Idina Menzel, but to me, this song is the best in the movie. And if you've watched our YouTube playlist of worship music this week, you might have been confused as to why I included this song, The Next Right Thing, at the end of that playlist. And I did that because I wanted everyone to hear it. Because to me, it's this song that is the central heart, or the key moment of the movie.
Just because you're putting some religious value into a sad song, it doesn't make it the best song of the bunch. I like that song doing the right thing too, but still.
Now, I said I wasn't going to talk much about the plot of the movie.
I believe you're leaving some stuff out and intentionally just to purposely put some religious stuff into it. So, okay, whatever, I guess.
But I do need to set the stage for a little bit of what's going on when this song is sung, for the context into which this song.
Well, no, you really weren't to begin with. You added stuff there because you wanted to be there, not because the movie's saying it is about that.
Happens in the movie. So I'm going to spoil a little bit, but I have a handy little spoiler sign here. So as I'm talking, I will hold up the spoiler sign when I'm talking spoilers, and I'll take it down when I'm done. If you're listening to the audio version of this, I will put time codes in the show notes so you'll know where to skip. So I don't want to ruin the movie for anyone. If you want to be spoiler free, just know that this song is sung at the narrative low point of the movie. We can kind of go from there. So, spoiler time in 3, 2, 1. Spoiler sign is up. Can you see the sign in frame, Christine? All right, spoiler sign's up. So, this song is sung toward the end of the movie. It's the low point at the movie. It's at that break between the second and third act, right? Your kind of narrative low point.
Queen Elsa was assumed dead along with Olaf, so Anna wasn't really. She didn't know what to do really from this point. She was pretty much, sort of like to hell with everything in a way.
Anna is at an all-time low. She is lost in a series of underground caves. She thinks her boyfriend has betrayed her. She thinks her sister, Elsa, is dead. And she has just watched her best friend, the magical snowman, Olaf, die in front of her. Almost in a ham-fisted literary picture.
What do you mean hand-fisted? There was nothing hand-fisted about that scene. She thought her entire life just crumbled right in front of her, and more ways than one.
She actually throws herself onto the rock bottom of a cave floor. She is there crying without any hope. And this is when she sings this song. Funny, a couple articles that I read talking about this movie referred to this scene as Anna's Gethsemane, referencing Jesus' prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane just before he was betrayed and murdered. So that's the level of mindset we're in right now. But it's at this moment that she sings this song, The Next Right Thing. It's here, at her most depressed, that she is reminded of the mantra, the next faithful step. And it's at this moment that she steps out, physically actually, into the light, and I think becomes the hero of the story.
The film isn't figuratively nor visually including Bible references whatsoever. You were thinking that.
Most people think Elsa is. I think this is Anna's movie. Anna's the hero of this story to me. All right, so I'm gonna put the spoiler sign down. Spoiler time is over.
What are you talking about? You were extremely vague. Again, I believe you're doing that on purpose. You desperately want it to be about religion when in reality it had nothing to do with it. Just because you like that song doesn't mean it's the best one of the bunch. Uh, Doing the right thing, yes, it's a great song. I'm not denying that. You just so desperately want it to be about religion, about Jesus Christ and whatnot, when in reality it has absolutely nothing to do with religion whatsoever. Nothing with Jesus Christ, nothing to do with his mother or father or whatever else. It has nothing to do with the church. I mean, yes, you want to do the whole right thing. You just missed the whole idea that their grandfather was a prick, and he's allowing fear to make judgment on a certain group of people, which implies that he may have been racist or something. Or at least something that, in that zone anyway. Maybe really bigoted or whatever. And when Honor discovers this, what their grandpapa had done, they had an important decision to do because this is not what Arendelle stands for. The dam had to be destroyed because the truth of the matter, it was something else entirely. It was not a gift. The only gift was Elsa herself. But the natives of the people only trust nature. So when they saw the Arendelle people, Anna, I guess in this case Elsa, had the powers, they were complete shock. Because they didn't think that the people whom they didn't trust, whom they deemed as the enemy, would be gifted by nature with these gifts. And this has, of course, is tied in together with the whole thing was mentioned earlier when they were two young kids, the two sisters, were spoken about their father about the enchanted forest. Even their mother spoke about this. And yes, it has something to do with that. And of course, you glance over all of this and the fact that the grandpapa basically wanted to screw over the natives for his own political gain. And of course, this also devastated Queen Elsa, right before she supposedly died. And because she was trying to, she saw these memories. Of course, they were like done in snow or whatever because it has something to do with the fact that the the water has memory. So yeah, there's a whole bit we glanced over.
So the notion of even taking a single step when we are at our lowest is a theme that is really repeated in the biblical text quite a few times.
While that may be true, but that doesn't mean there's a correlation with the biblical stories and Frozen 2. A lot of stories had used this kind of notion as well. So, okay.
Perhaps one of my favorites comes from Psalm 119. Now, Psalm 119 is the longest psalm in the Bible. It clocks in at a behemoth 176 verses. So it is a beefy boy. Now, I bet some of you, most of you probably, know verse 105. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. It's probably maybe the most well-known verse of this song. And we're going to touch on that in a second. First, I want to jump back a few verses. I want to get us into the headspace of our psalmist. Kind of get us to see the world in which the psalmist is crying out, singing this psalm into.
Just because you studied the Bible real well and just because you like this song, doing the right thing, again, doesn't mean there's a correlation here whatsoever.
So, if you have your Bibles with me, turn back a few verses to verse 82. So, we're going to be reading from Psalm 119, starting in verse 82. My eyes fall with watching for your promise. My eyes fail, not fall. My eyes fail with watching for your promise. When will you comfort me? For I have become like a wineskin in the smoke. Yet I have not forgotten your statutes. How long must your servant endure? When will you judge those who persecute me? The arrogant have dug pitfalls for me. They flout your laws. All your commandments I am enduring. I am persecuted without cause. Help me. they almost make me an end on the earth. But I have not forsaken your precepts. So we have a psalmist here who is really someone who is describing being pushed to the absolute end of their rope.
That doesn't make any sense. Again, she's not there because it was depicting something from the Bible. It was just because of some unexpected circumstances.
But this is someone that, despite everything they've gone through, is trying to remain faithful.
You've intentionally left out the bit where Princess Anna pretty much gave up on that point, but continued anyway, considering the fact that she knew her sister, Elsa the Queen, wouldn't want her to give up. And she knew deep down giving up would be the wrong thing to do. So she had pretty much picked herself up, continued to do so. So you're wrong.
But you can see they're starting to maybe lose hope for that future fate. This is someone who has endured watching and waiting for the Lord to show up, even to the point of their eyes failing.
Frozen 2 never explicitly stated that Queen Elsa and Princess Anna were Christians. So, yeah, that's a total lie.
Right? From a literary metaphorical sense, they have gone blind.
Again, you're wrong. No, there's no line of dialogue, there's no visual cues to indicate what you're talking about, so you're lying. That's like me saying that Saya and Alice from the live action version of Blood the Last Vampire are supposed to be stand ins for the biblical truth just because of the fact that both characters go through a lot, quite a bit, throughout the entire movie. So, yeah, claiming that aspect of the film is about the Bible is just ridiculous when you think about it, so you don't really have a claim to that whatsoever.
Watching the horizon for the hope of Jesus, for the hope of the Lord. And it hasn't come. This is the point of their exasperation. They are crying out, "When will you comfort me?" Now, me personally, I read this line as almost anger. I have gone blind waiting for you, and you haven't shown up yet. Are you ever going to comfort me? So how can the same psalmist go from this to your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path? These two parts of the psalm really seem to be in conflict. How can someone going through so much, crying out so desperately, potentially even angrily, also simply and plainly state that the word of the Lord is a lamp to them? I think some of this disconnect might come from what we visualize when we hear the phrase lamp to my feet. When you hear that, what do you picture? Do you picture a big old Coleman lantern? Something like this? Oh yeah, I have props today. Do you picture something like this? Or maybe like a big megalite, something that's going to light up a lot. The problem with both of these is they make too much light. Remember, this is the line of poetry written thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I can say the Bible itself is really unreliable. It's written way too long ago by primitive people. So, yeah, about that. And also, just because a character is going through a struggle in their life isn't evident enough to indicate, oh, Jesus went through a struggle. There's no correlation to any of this whatsoever. You just want it to be that. That's it. Nothing more.
In the ancient Near East, the lamps didn't put out nearly as much light as our big beefy Coleman lanterns do.
Okay, the light. He's bringing that up because he thinks the film is trying to use some sort of metaphor. What he's pointing out is like scenes like this, like this little thing here, or maybe something like this, perhaps, or even maybe something like this. Acting as if that's God's doing, metaphorically speaking, to talk to these characters, which just sounds absurd when you think about it. And even in real life, people do nice things in real life, complete strangers. That alone does not mean that, oh, God is up to something. That doesn't mean God is intervening. It's just people doing nice things to each other, and that's it.
These were small oil lamps. They would create a ring of light really not much further than a foot or two around them. And it wasn't even that bright of a light. Meaning that in a very, very literal sense, these were lamps for your feet. They were to make sure you could see your next step. They weren't meant to illuminate everything around you, only what you needed to see to take your next step with confidence. So our psalmist has gone through a lot, is crying out in depression. But our psalmist also knows that God will remain faithful.
Yeah, he's saying that bit where she's all depressed and everything, as if it's her being blinded of not knowing what to do really, and then the fact that there's that bit of a light there, oh, that's just Jesus Christ indicating what to tell her to do the next right thing. Yeah, acting as if there's all cues to do so, but that's not the case here whatsoever. He just so desperately wanted to be about that. He's just projecting these things into it in a really vague way. Funny you say that when the Bible itself had want women to be submissive, and if they rebel, oh, it's the devil controlling them. And then, not only that, let's say if a woman wants to express herself with her body, and she like looks all too lustful or whatever, oh, it's Satan trying to control women, and therefore they're deemed unnecessary. Point being, how can you say that a female character being strong and brave is saying something about the Bible, when the very Bible itself is condemning women in every way? And they're not even allowed to teach Bible in Bible study.
So when they say that the word is a lamp unto their feet, they mean just that. That it will illuminate my next step. It'll give me guidance to take that next faithful step. It'll give me guidance to do the next right thing. This is our psalmist's way of not being overwhelmed with everything going on around him. As the passage we read, when they look at the whole, they're getting overwhelmed. They become depressed. They're crying out. There's too much going on. So if they focus on each individual step and allowing the Word of God to direct just one step forward, that's how they can weather. That's how they can endure everything that's going on. That's how you can have the desperate cry of the passage we read also paired with the hopeful notion that the Word of God is a lamp for our feet. That's how the psalmist is remaining faithful in light of everything going on. Now, I want to read a couple lines from the song, The Next Right Thing. This passage comes from decently early in the song. So here it goes. This grief has a gravity. It pulls me down. But a tiny voice whispers in my mind, you are lost. Your hope is gone. But you must go on and do the next right thing. Now for us, as Christians, this line has a slightly different connotation than perhaps the movie intended.
Of course, that's not what the movie's intended. You're projecting, like I said earlier. You just said a whole lot right there without actually saying anything of importance whatsoever. There's nothing of substance of what you're saying. You're extremely vague in everything. And of course, when it comes to picking your battles, as we're referring to earlier, you can't just, you just have to pick your battles, because if you do everything all at once, you're going to ultimately fail. So, okay, yeah, that's true, but that doesn't mean it has anything to do with the movie.
For us, we know that whispering voice to be the voice of God.
No. The sequence where it plays the song Into the Unknown, which is practically literally right in the beginning of the film. Okay, not very beginning, but pretty close. That's not the voice of God himself trying to call out to Elsa. And then she gets all excited. She gets all excited because, like I said earlier, deep down, that's what she really wants to do. To have another grand adventure. She's been caught out, yeah, but it's not because of Jesus or whoever.
So in our deepest pits, God can say to us, you may think you are lost. You may think you have lost all hope. But God can tell us, I know exactly where you are. So you never have to lose hope.
That's wrong again, because when Elsa was all sad, she felt that she lost all hope. She was pretty much given up her life because things had changed for the worse. And she felt that there was no possible way to get out of this situation. But, boy, you just wanted to be about this, that's all. There's nothing indicating what you just said there.
See, we can cling to hope because that tiny voice whispering in our mind is the voice of the all-powerful God.
Oh, boy, no, that doesn't mean that's indicating God. And she was pretty much giving up because she felt that her life was over. But she also knew that she can't just stop doing the right thing. Just completely stop, because she knows if she gives up, things can't get better. Even through your wars, you have to keep going and going.
The creator of everything, the same God who ordered the stars, the same God who is the beginning and the end. That is that small voice urging us on to take the next faithful step. That's the voice urging us on to do the next right thing. So we never are actually lost. Our hope is never actually gone, because that voice urging us on is our God. Now, honestly, sometimes it might be better for us to not actually know God's entire plan. And that sounds weird, but think about where you are right now. The location you're living, maybe the job you have, the school you're at, the partner you have or do not have, everything about your life right now. Think about all the steps that led you to the point you're at right now. How many of those steps would you have mapped and planned out like they happened? How many of those steps?
What he's referring to is this. He's acting as if that this is in the film is somehow, and yes, you can say that this right here is in the film, which it is, but he's indicating that this is somehow a direct reference to the Bible. Because how life is, things can become rather crazy because of your actions and whatnot, no matter how small they are. Just because that's true, it doesn't mean that that's what they're referring to when it comes to the biblical text.
Say 5-10 years ago, you would not have thought possible. Or you would honestly rather have not gone through to get to where you are now. I know for me, if 10 years ago someone had told me what I would be doing today, where I'd be living, all of that, I would have laughed in their face.
That's because you weren't thinking that far ahead and whatnot. But again, that does not indicate any Bible references in the film. So, yeah, going on with the whole butterfly effect phenomena is what we're referring to. Of course, things happen, things do change, but that's too vague.
And then, even more, if you had told me to get to the point where I am, I would have had to have gone through 3 career changes, been let go from 2 jobs, moved back and forth across the country several times. That would have been a hard pass for me. But this is where the idea of the next faithful step comes in.
Well, yes, it might be difficult to see yourself, what's going to happen in your life in the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or even 10 years from this point forward. And you can say the same thing about your past self, about maybe a good 20 years ago, sure. But again, this has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. You're talking about something totally different.
Sometimes we don't know the end goal.
Yes, well, that's true. Sometimes we don't know. But that doesn't mean that this movie is about God.
Most of the time, honestly, we don't know what God has planned for us. So all we can do is trust, have faith, and let God direct us.
Assuming if you believe in a God. And another thing, blind faith is never a good thing.
One step at a time. Take the next faithful step. When we don't know what to do, we just have to do the next right thing. We can think of Jesus' words from Matthew. Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. today's trouble is enough for today.
That doesn't mean you can't prepare, you can't plan ahead. So that's kind of bad advice when you think about it, because you do have to worry about tomorrow and whatnot. You can't exactly tell little Jimmy over here, whom is hungry, I might add, to not worry about tomorrow because, well, he might be so, low on food that he might actually die because he hasn't eaten in a while.
This is This is Jesus basically saying, take things one day at a time.
That still doesn't mean you can't be prepared. So again, that's kind of a bad advice when you think about it.
One problem at a time, one stress at a time, one episode at a time.
That's easier said than done because just because your problems aren't that bad doesn't mean that your next door neighbor doesn't have much, much, much worse of problems. That's the thing. Some people out there have so many problems that they can't get out of it. So yeah, well, they can't just say, "Oh, don't stress it out." No, come on, give me a break.
One thing at a time. Now, this is by no means an easy thing, right?
What about the homeless veterans? What about the people who were kidnapped? What about the who are about to be kicked out the homes due to non-payment for a while? What about the people who are unable to pay for rent in their apartments? What about the people who are about to lose their cars due to lack of payment? What about the people who are about to be homeless and whatnot?
This sounds like one of those things. Of course, yeah, just take one thing at a time. It'll be great.
It's not exactly that easy, dude. Like I just said, some people have it much worse than you do. So what about them?
That's hard to do in practice. Think about it. If you are someone who loves to plan,
What about the person who's extremely depressed, like chronically depressed? He or shell shock. You can't just tell the person, "Oh, it's not that bad." You psycho.
it's kind of a control freak. Me. Yeah, and Christine's pointing at herself too. We are both very much we like having the full plan laid out.
Again, it's not always that easy. Things happen. That's life for you, even if you have a plan mapped out in front of you. And also, when things happen, you do have to also adapt. Realistically speaking, that's bound to happen. It does happen, and it will eventually happen. Maybe not right away. It, and so, if some things happen, it does change, you know.
It can be immeasurably difficult to not know what that end goal or what that end destination is. And honestly, that's why a passage like the Matthew one,
What are you talking about? All you're trying to do here is just trying to make a bridge between what you believe in and what the film is about. And you're failing miserably. You're just saying some generic stuff as a way to build this thing as if that's what the movie's about, which again is not that whatsoever. Man, oh man, the way he's approaching this is just horrible. It's really bad. This is not a good way to tell your listeners because your argument is severely flawed here, folks. Nothing here is making any sense. We're about to be done here, but holy shit.
can be so frustrating because they make it sound so easy. But it takes work. Or maybe when you are in the depths of depression.
Yeah, and that's the last part of folks of his little thing that he did, his podcast. I mean, okay, it's not exactly little because it was quite lengthy, of course. But yeah, it wasn't really about the film whatsoever. It's just him really desperately, like I was saying. He wanted to be the film to be about, God, Jesus, Hail Mary, and all that. Saint Peter and all all the disciples and all that. He himself wanted to be about that, and he was trying to back up his claim by using Bible verses, and of course, trying to use his own experience that he went through to, I guess, put in here for the lack of support because he really doesn't have any support to back up his claim whatsoever. So he's trying to grab at some things to make it seem like that's what the movie's about. It was not really about Frozen 2. He had nothing to back up the claim, despite the fact that he said he did. He just wanted to be about Christians and all that. Just because he himself or anybody went through some struggles does not mean the film itself is about that. And if you actually sat through all this, which if you did, I highly actually appreciate if you did, folks. And if anybody actually sat through this, I really appreciate this. I know I keep stopping, I keep interrupting him, like like pretty much in every moment, because what he was saying was just nonsensical. He wanted to be about the film be about that. The filmmakers, the people who were behind this film, never intended to be in such a way. He just wanted to be in such a way. He just projecting his own belief systems into this. What does anything have to do with things beyond me? It's just no. It's not a Christian movie. It never was. Is not currently, and never will be. Disney films doesn't have to cater down to one faith. Um, and I don't think it shouldn't either. You should have the freedom to express any kind of story, any kind of way you want. So yeah, think about that. Like, if at all, to be about religion whatsoever. And I know a lot of people, a lot of filmmakers took inspiration from the Bible without actually making be about the Bible. Yes, that did happen before. Sure, I'll give you that. But that doesn't mean that's what this movie is going for, like whatsoever. Oh boy. And yeah, we should be in living in a country where we could express a numerous type of different storytelling in different ways. I know a lot of these religious folks claim that America is a Christian nation, which it's not. And I know they're going to use the founding fathers did this and that. No, technically, the founding fathers allowed people to practice the Bible if they want to. But just because you are allowed to do this and that doesn't mean the entire nation is about that whatsoever. But yeah, I know some people disagree on that. But the facts are the facts. The truth is the truth. You can't change it just to mold it around your feelings. I mean, that's not me trying to sound like a dickhead or anything, but I'm just trying to point that out, folks. Just saying. But yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I just want to make it be about Christian. What if Elsa, or maybe at least Princess Anna was a Muslim? Let's just say she practiced the Jewish religion. What about that? Or what if she's an atheist? She doesn't believe in anything. Well, there's nothing religious anyway. What about that? Well, if she was any other religion other than your own, would you be saying the same thing? Obviously not. So suddenly it's different when it comes to your religion. If it's your religion that the movie is based on, suddenly it's great. So you can claim that that's the only way that the film's gonna be good if it's based on your specific religion and your specific beliefs. I'm saying it like that because there's many dominations of Christianity anyway. So yeah, just give me a break here, folks. Just give me a minute, folks. I'm trying to wrap things up. I really am. I'm just trying to get a few things out the way because just it's just nonsensical. I know a lot of religious people, and if you're around this channel long enough, or if you want to go back to some of my other videos discussing religion, Frozen is brought up quite often, and I do mean quite often, whether it's in a negative way or positive way. Regardless if it's negative or positive attention, either way, a lot of pastors, or at least a lot of the church followers who go to church, often bring this movie up in a number of ways. I'm not going to discuss it here because the video itself is already lengthy. It's almost an hour. It's almost an hour, so I'm not going to bring it up here. But point being, a lot of religious individuals, even pastors brought this film up, and the first film. So what is it about this film exactly that seemed to want to bring it up? I don't get. I still don't. I've discussed this film in the religious context in the way they were trying to claim it like it is a number of times before. And I still don't understand it whatsoever. Basically, they just want these films to be about that. And if it doesn't go their way in a specific manner, it's somehow anti-religious, which it's not. It's just negative or positive. It's just projecting. They're just projecting their beliefs onto the film in a negative or positive way. So it just doesn't make any sense. It always just no. And I'm just yammering on here, folks, but trust me, this is just really stupid in a lot of ways because it's nonsensical. Why does the film have to be about Christian faith in order to be good? I mean, a lot of them would tell me that they could just give me an explanation in such a way. It's about faith. It's about family. It's about believing in yourself. But okay, you can still have a great adventure without having to be about the Bible. There's many great films I could easily bring up like right now that's not religious whatsoever and still be good anyway. A film does not have to be religious whatsoever in order to be good is what I'm getting at here, folks. So yeah, just no. And just I'm getting really tired of this religious folks trying to project the Bible into the was not needed. And I mean, of course, they've done that to other movies. Of course, Forza 1 and 2 were not the only movies they've done that to. Obviously, it's not the first time, and it's not gonna be the last time. Obviously, it's not gonna be the only movie they can do that with. Of course, and just I just found this entire thing ridiculous because considering the fact that this movie doesn't have to be about that. I mean, yes, Elsa's courageous. Yes, Anna's brave too, and sure, and it's rather contradictory, like I was saying before. He's trying to use a female character to say that, oh, the fact that she's brave, the fact that she's strong is is evident in itself. Why other people, other pastors, trying to say the film is against God for that very reason, for having a strong female lead. So, do you see the contradiction here? So, just, I don't know anymore. Just, wow. So yeah, and there's a lot of sexist pastors, a lot of sexist followers of Christ. I'm not saying all of them are, but there's quite a bit of them, is what I'm saying. There's definitely quite a bit of them that's out there. And, and yes, before anyone tells me, yes, I do realize there's some Christians out there who don't mind women being strong. That's fine. If you're religious and you're fine with women being strong, okay, that's great. But even then, that doesn't mean that's what the movie's about. That doesn't mean that's what the movie's going for, like whatsoever. Oh boy. So yeah, I don't understand any of this whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. It's like there's like plot holes ever all over what they're saying. I mean, there's other things that could have brought up, of course, obviously, but again, trust me, this video would be much longer if I want to point out multiple different things. But like I said, this video is already long enough as it is. But in the sense that a lot of religious people are going after Disney anyway for a number of reasons, which I don't really want to get into. Really, it's like I said, this video is really long enough as it is. There's the whole gay pride. A lot of people seem to be bothered with. There's the whole bit where there's the whole gay day, which Disney has started doing in the late 1990s, which a lot of Christians had a problem with. And like I said, I'm not gonna get too much into that because this video is very long. So yeah, folks. I know you could say it has something to do with the fact that it's a Prince movie, and of course both films are highly popular, and he just wants to use that as a reason to say to become pro-Christian or whatever and whatnot. So yeah, folks, which is in a lot of ways a stupid reason to actually try to attach your belief system into the movie. At the end of the day, that's all that was. That's all it is. It's a popular movie. And it made a lot of money. I'm trying to use that as the sole reason, as a single reason as to why the movie is good. It's that. Just because it has Bible references throughout the entire thing. I mean, are you kidding me, man? I mean, really? But yeah, it's just stupid. It's nonsensical. I mean, you're really gonna be that shallow. You're gonna be is that what it is? You're jealous? But I'm not saying he's jealous. It's just I'm trying to think as to why he would put this together and whatnot. Yeah, it's just a podcast thing he did a little while ago, but it puzzles my mind. It really puzzles my mind why exactly that this does need to happen. I don't know. Uh, you realize making too much of the same thing can actually saturate the market, which would devalue the thing. How am I supposed to enjoy something if everything just comes off exactly the same? That's boring. Really, really whatever, man. As always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah. Later. Boy, yeah, yeah.